We'll be getting started in just a moment, waiting to let everyone in. We'll get started in just a moment. Please continue to enter in the chat where you're joining us from. Let's get started. Welcome to the National University Speaker Series. My name is Dr. Nancy Rowland Heinrich, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Vice President of Community Engagement for National University. I am proud to be the founder and host of our National University Speaker Series. For the past 4 years, we have held more than 40 webinars with notable presenters and subject matter experts on a wide array of topics. Please note that all these past sessions have been recorded, and you are more than welcome to view them on the NU website. Today is something new for us. We have not had any speakers in the sports industry. So we're excited for those of you joining, whether you're an alum, faculty, staff, or community member. Our speaker series is open to all participants. And today, I'm sure we have many sports fans. National University was started in 1971 and has a rich history of providing accessible and relevant higher ed programs to meet the needs of non-traditional working and military students. I'm proud to share that we now have more than 50,000 students enrolled in more than 100 degree programs. National University has reached 200,000 graduates and a combined alumni network of 240,000, which also includes our graduates from North Central University and JFK University. Today, as mentioned, we have a unique topic in the sports industry. You will be provided a behind-the-scenes look and given an inside scoop of how sports relate to economic impact, marketing, and the tourism industry. I cannot think of anyone more appropriate to share his insight and knowledge on this topic than the CEO of Sports San Diego, Mr. Mark Neville. Mark is a highly visible leader in the sports industry. He is frequently featured on broadcasts regarding major sporting events. Mark also serves as an announcer at events for NCAA basketball and at times for professional sports. His true expertise is in recruiting, negotiating, managing, and executing major sporting activities. He is well known for his expertise in the bowl industry. In September, Mark received the 2024 award for innovation and economic impact from Lead San Diego at their Visionary Awards. Sports San Diego oversees the Holiday Bowl, Rady's Children's Invitational, the Cal State Games, and the Sports Commission for San Diego. So today's topic will be interesting, with a focus touching on youth, collegiate, professional, and international athletics, all encompassed in major sporting events. Following the session, we will have a moderated Q&A. Today's moderator will be Mark Sawyer. Mark is the VP of Marketing for Sports San Diego. And Mark also joins us with tremendous expertise in sports marketing, the bowl industry, and major sporting events. So let's find out more about the broader impact and complexity of sports on a region, the community, and what those economic drivers are. Today's format will be an interview style. So please wait. You can submit your questions in the Q&A, and those will be addressed after the formal interview between Mark and Mark. So it is at this time, it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Mark Neville, the CEO of Sports San Diego, who will be interviewed by Mark Sawyer. Audience, I truly hope you enjoy this discussion. Mark and Mark, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Nancy, and hello. Good afternoon to everybody listening from, looks like, all over the country. Thank you so much for joining us. As Nancy said, we're pretty excited to present today. And as she said, there's no person better than to talk about the impact of sports tourism than Mark Neville. And as a preview today, we plan to talk about some historical context about the sports tourism industry to set the backdrop, the role Sports San Diego plays in all of that, and if you're lucky, a little glimpse into what's ahead. And I think all of you, at least some of you locals, are excited about some of the sporting events of today. Go Padres. We're rooting hard for our hometown team. And hopefully we can carry that through line today of some of the great events that are happening here in San Diego. So, with that, Mark, thank you for serving as our keynote today. And as a jumping off point for this discussion, if you could give us an overview of the sports tourism industry nationally and the impact it has, I think that'd be a great place for us to start. And Mark, if you could come off mute, bud. And there we go. And
welcome to 2024. Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Nancy, for having us. This is we're really honored to be part of your program this week. So, sports tourism is a huge industry. In fact, in 2023, over 200 million people in the United States traveled to a sporting event. That's a huge number. And it's a number that is continuing to grow. This is the numbers that we're at right now are considerably higher than they were pre-pandemic. We anticipate there could be another 10 to 15% growth in this year, in our current year, 2024. It's a $52 billion industry. That's just sports tourism. That's not tourism. That is just sports tourism. And it's something that here in San Diego, we have just not been getting our fair share of the pie on. We needed to get more active in that space so that San Diego can be a better place. Thinking nationally again, there were more than 750,000 jobs created because of sports tourism. More than $20 billion in tax revenues were created because of sports tourism. So again, that was really what prompted us to become more active, to have more success, to get our fair share of the pie of those 200 million plus people who traveled last year.
So we use economic impact a lot in how we talk about sports tourism, specifically as it relates to San Diego. What unique impacts does sports have in terms of kind of that real life application of where that economic impact is felt?
Well, I mean, here locally in San Diego, it creates thousands of jobs. The economic impact. In fact, I'll tell you from who we were. I know we'll get into this in a little bit, but just as a snapshot from what we used to do, our organization, Sports San Diego, used to just run the Holiday Bowl football game, and we were doing the Holiday Bowl. We were driving between 15 and 25,000 room nights a year. During a very slow period of time. Now, with what we're doing to Sports San Diego, this is an indication of the success and the impact that we now have. In our first year as Sports San Diego, the year that ended June 30, 2023, we did 100,000 room nights. So we went from 15 to 25,000 to 100,000 in just 1 year. The second year, the year that ended this past June 30, we did 130,000 room nights. So, and that impact is felt with in terms of economic impact for not only the hotels, but for our locally owned shops and locally owned restaurants, our local attractions. It creates tax revenues that helps to fill potholes and address the homeless issue that we have here in San Diego. While it looks like on its face, it's just, we're bringing a soccer tournament to San Diego. The impact of it is very far and wide.
So you alluded to this earlier of kind of some of the evolution that's been felt. Sports San Diego as a brand name is a relatively new name in town, and but the history seems to run a little bit deeper. So you referenced the Holiday Bowl. Take us through the journey of how Sports San Diego came to be.
So the organization, the Holiday Bowl, which we ran for many, many years, for 45 years now, when that started, it was under the umbrella of the Greater San Diego Sports Association, which at the time was the Sports Commission. I started, as you can tell by my slightly receding hairline, I started here a long, long time ago in 1991, and at that time we were still under that umbrella. And then in the mid 90s we separated off. The Sports Commission went one way and the Holiday Bowl went another way. Both organizations thrived in big ways. So were very impactful. On the Sports Commission side, it thrived until the last Super Bowl that was here in 2003. And after that, the group that was running the Sports Commission at the time, the focus changed a little bit in that they went the direction of recognizing local athletic achievement. And to this day, they do an amazing job, like a tremendous organization. And there have been Sports Commission efforts. In fact, it was underneath our local tourism authority for a few years. And so things were going all right. It was in 2018 was a big year for us. In 2018, we hosted the Navy versus Notre Dame football game. Huge success for San Diego. It was the last sellout in our old stadium. Big numbers for hotel room nights, economic impact during an off-peak period. It was in late October. And when that game ended at our next board meeting, we had a conversation about doing more for San Diego. And by doing other sports events, could we reassume that role of being the Sports Commission? And our board, they're a bunch of visionaries, I will tell you. And so they took it on, like, let's do it. And so I would say maybe a week after that, we had our first meeting to host a basketball tournament here in San Diego. And then we started the process of becoming the Sports Commission and other things. So it took a lot of work, a lot of dialogue, a lot of cooperation in the community. And fast forward to February of 2022 was when we announced that we became Sports San Diego. And under that umbrella of Sports San Diego at the time was the Holiday Bowl, the DirecTV Holiday Bowl, taking on the Sports Commission efforts. And then that was basically it at the time. We were also taking on another event called the California State Games. But it really, I'm not sure, Mark, if you want me to keep on going to what we look like today.
Absolutely.
But we really took this on. We didn't just dip our toes in the water here. We jumped in head first into the pool. And so with Sports San Diego as our parent company, that's our nonprofit big name. It's this logo on my shirt. That is the top of the organization chart. And then we have four verticals that feed up into that name. One being the Holiday Bowl, of course. Another being the Sports Commission. Another one being the Rady Children's Invitational, which is that basketball tournament that we got started a year ago on Thanksgiving. And then finally the California State Games, which we also own and operate. It's the largest Olympic-style sports festival in the state of California, which is sponsored by National University, by the way. And so with all of that, that's how we've started to generate these crazy great numbers for the region.
So no shortage of things that you're dealing with. It sounds like you've got kind of two unique business pieces. You've got your owned and operated events that you outlined between the Holiday Bowl, the Rady Children's Invitational, and the California State Games, as well as the Sports Commission that seems to have more of a recruitment element to it. Why bring those under one roof, and more specifically, why do you choose to own and operate events?
So first, your first question, why we have each of these lines of business, is that sports tourism requires a singular effort. It needs to have a focus on sports tourism. And so then to get into your next question about why we do these other events. So everything that we do and where we are ultimately going to get is that we want to drive 250,000 room nights and $250 million a year for San Diego. That would be huge. And so our staff knows this, our board knows this, like every decision that we make from now moving forward, whether either indirectly or directly, must get us to that 250,000 per year number, a hotel room night number. And so that can be directly or indirectly. Directly by bringing in events that are going to drive hotel room nights and tourism. But we also need to make this a sustainable effort. And a huge challenge for us is funding. It is, I'd love to say that this is just a piece of cake, we're doing all this, we're doing great. But we've also had some challenges too financially. And so we've been working really hard at making this a sustainable model. Well, one of the ways to do that is by owning and operating your own events. The Holiday Bowl in its heyday is generating, we were netting $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year on it. Right now, it's about a break-even entity just because of all the changes in college athletics. But these other events can help drive revenues to help make our effort sustainable for the long term. We are also doing some other fundraising efforts as well. The sponsorship efforts are very important. Support by the community is very important, from our civic officials and civic partners, very important. And so everything, literally every decision that we make has to get us to 250,000 room nights one way or the other.
So you mentioned, that's probably a nice segue as we kind of look to the future. And again, for those of you listening, we are moderating the Q&A, and we will reserve time at the end to answer some of those questions. So make sure you open that question and answer box as we go throughout this, and we'll be sure to get to some of those questions at the end. But Mark, you mentioned kind of the end of the road and that North Star of 250,000 room nights. Let's get a little inside baseball here. Let's pull back the curtain a little bit. What's on the horizon for Sports San Diego right now? Anything you can share in terms of what the team's working on, or at least what you're excited about?
Yeah, I will tell you that we are really grateful and lucky to have, and San Diego is really lucky to have a pretty amazing team here, be it our board of directors or our Red Coat ambassadors, which is our primary volunteer group, and our staff is remarkable. There are a couple of events that we have already announced that are out there on the horizon right now that are going to be a big help towards this. One, for example, the World Athletics Road Running Championships are coming to San Diego next September. Big event, global participation. The last time this event was held was last October in 2023 in Riga, Latvia. The event has been in Spain. After us, it's going to be in Copenhagen, Denmark. An event that will have a huge impact for us. The Breeders' Cup is going to be here in the region up at Del Mar for the next 2 years. That event has been a tremendous success the last times it's been here. Very confident it will be again this year and next year. We have a couple major events that are coming to Southern California or be part of Southern California coming up. Obviously, the Olympics in 2028 is something that we have our eyes set on to be able to attract business for that. Number one, we want San Diego to be a training site for Olympic teams, and pretty confident that we will have some success. We've already been having lots of meetings and discussions about that. Right now, there's 4 sports that don't have homes yet. So can one of those come down here to San Diego? I don't know, but we certainly will give it a try. And then and also for fans, we're just 100 miles south of downtown Los Angeles here. So would love for global visitors to spend time in San Diego. So there's some really great opportunities there. The World Cup in 2026, we're working on that right now as well. Would love to have teams train here in the lead up and make this their home for a few weeks. So that's really exciting. We're already going out into 2031 and 2033. The Rugby World Cup, the men are in 31 and the women are in 2033. Huge events, monster events. And as we've seen all over the summer, we hosted the All Blacks and Fiji here, and it sold out. Snapdragon Stadium was one of the best experiences I've had since I've been working here for 33 years. And then, that doesn't, those are just like more the spectator events. There's the participation events that people don't even, that might not make it into the newspapers and TV news, but are have a significant impact on the region for us. Like we just had USA Flag Football was here with Flag Fest. That probably was a 6,000 room night generator with that event. And so we're working on a ton of things. It's constantly working on bids, accepting RFPs, and again, wanting to do as well as we can for the region.
So I'm hearing everything from flag football to rugby to soccer to, I think we have USA Ultimate Frisbee as well.
We got pickleball coming in January, Sawyer.
Pickleball, yeah.
Yeah, pickleball is on its way. USA pickleball.
Certainly no shortage, not to mention Olympics, which is every sport. So certainly no shortage of, for those of you fans out there, a lot of things to get excited about from a spectator sport perspective. But again, from a participant perspective, there's quite a few that maybe fly under that radar a little bit. So you mentioned World Cup, you mentioned Olympics. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into putting in a bid for any of these respective events, whether it's a collegiate event, a professional event, or otherwise. I got to ask, what type of an advantage do you feel San Diego as a destination gives you?
I mean, this is no disrespect to everyone who's out there who doesn't live in San Diego, but it's tough to argue that there's anywhere else in the world other than San Diego that has a better climate on a year-round basis.
Sure.
And again, we're a little biased here in San Diego, but it's a pretty awesome place. Very attractive destination for sports. And so that definitely is a benefit of ours. That said, there was a survey done by event organizers of what they look for when they are going to, when they're considering where they're going to take their event. And the single most important piece, and again, it's largely financial, is what that community is going to do for them. Are they going to provide free rent? Are they going to underwrite police services and permit fees and things like that? That's number one. Number two is the cost. How much is it going to cost them to have an event for their participants and things like that? So those are two things that we actually don't score well on. San Diego is an expensive place. We don't have a lot of incentives for them. We cannot rely on just being in a really cool city. So we are actually working on a couple programs to that end. We want to make San Diego, we want to make California more attractive for event organizers. There are models out there, first on the state side. Texas is very successful. Florida's, there are, I think right now there's 23 or 24 different states that have programs in place to incentivize events to come to their states. And so we are working on a program right now with coalescing all the other sports commissions, the big sports commissions in the state of California, and working with Cal Travel and to try to create a similar fund that will help make California more competitive in that regard. On the local side here in the state of or the city of San Diego, we don't really have programs in place currently that incentivize events to come here. And so we are working on a plan at City Hall currently that would be a zero-lose scenario for the city. And it would be such that there would be funding that we can access, essentially, there's a Reader's Digest version of this, but where we're not going to be able to provide free rent or free services or things like that, but what we can do is provide funds to an organization that we can prove is going to provide X amount of tax revenues, but we can give a percentage of that to them. And it would only be given to them if they're coming. So and for the city, it would be a zero lose proposition, only a gain. And I think if we get success with those two, in those two regards, we'll realize greater success in bringing more events to the state and, selfishly to the city of San Diego.
So let's get into there's some sports questions that are always top of mind here in recent years, as the college landscape has certainly changed.
It has?
From what I've heard,
Okay.
between NIL deals, NCAA changes, everyone, the $1 billion question everyone's always asking is, where does everything go from here? But certainly over the past, months and years now, there's been updates of what the NIL landscape is and how that's going to impact college sports. As an organizer of 2 collegiate sporting events that you own and operate, as well as an organization that actively bids on recruiting other events to come to San Diego, how do you see NIL impacting your day-to-day owned and operated events? And where do you see things going from here, if you're going to put your expert cap on here for a second to prognosticate?
Well, how is it going to impact us? It already has in significant ways. And, it's interesting because there haven't been any guardrails put in place to really govern how NIL is governed. And so I'll just speak to the football game in particular. A lot of it, there's so many more issues than just NIL in college athletics, and in college football, there's a lot of things, especially in the postseason, where we've been challenged through the years, and more every year, is student athletes are opting out of the games because they're being told by agents, and their agents are talking to their parents that the bowl games don't mean anything and just don't even play in the games anymore. Fortunately, not everyone buys into that, and they shouldn't, because I always think of college football or football as being the greatest team sport there is, and I'm not a big fan of when kids back out or quit on their team during the bowl games. But you have that, you have coaches that are leaving their jobs or getting fired right after the regular season. You have this thing called an early signing deadline, where coaches are more focused on recruiting than they are on the bowl games. And then NIL is a big piece of it, and so we are working on a few programs where NIL can actually help bowl games. I'm not saying that's where it's going to go, but at least there are good attempts at it. And then in college basketball, we, as part of our program, we pay teams to come here. And now we do get questions every once in a while from teams, is that rather than paying the teams, can we contribute to NIL collectives that, can go to the players? I don't really have any problem with that at all. I think it's great that the players can monetize their name and image and likeness. But it has totally upset the apple cart. College athletics, I think, is the greatest. I love college football, and I love college basketball, and I love college athletics. With all these changes in college athletics, it's definitely threatening that. And so where it's going to go, there is not one person on the planet that can tell you where this is heading. We like to be proactive when we're planning things. But with the changes, whether it's conference realignment or playoff expansion for football, there are so many changes. It's really hard to be proactive. We do a lot of scenario planning around here, depending on which direction it's going to go, so we can be as proactive as possible. We're thinking of things that I really can't get into right now that are so outside the box. And we have to, and really every organization like ours that is engaged in college athletics really needs to be thinking outside the box, really needs to prepare for whatever scenario will play out. So rather than being completely reactive, everyone is kind of on the forefront of it and having as good of understanding. I will say there are things that have happened in the last year or two that I didn't see coming, and that's going to continue to happen as we move along.
All right, so you have combined two unique industries. So you're the CEO of a civic-minded nonprofit whose focus is to drive economic impact through sports. So you've got this sports yet civic-minded nonprofit that you have to blend all that together. You've mentioned funding as challenges in the past. What's a challenge of being a leader of a sports-centric nonprofit that most of us probably wouldn't realize? What are some of the unique challenges in your world?
So there's a lot of competition out there in the sports tourism marketplace. There's a lot of competition for bowl games. There's a lot of competition with college basketball tournaments. There's competition for the tourism dollar, for the sports tourism dollar. What we do, we're not that traditional nonprofit, right? It's a little different. We're not, like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is great, Rady Children's Hospital. I mean, there's so many great charities out there. We're a little different in that what we do is really important, but it's hard we're challenged by making people aware that we're important. People see us putting on the DirecTV Holiday Bowl and it's a football game. It's great. People don't, the basketball tournament, the Rady Children's Invitational, it's great that we have one of the most respected, if not the most respected, charities in San Diego, so involved in that game, not only as a sponsor but as a beneficiary. But we're not Rady Children's Hospital, so what we need to do is get out there and tell people why we are important, not only in the San Diego community but in the sports landscape. And so it's a little harder for us, I feel. I think we to raise money, because again, our budget this year is $12.5 million, and there's only so many revenue streams that we can tap into currently to get that $12.5 million and to fill that gap. That's why we are getting creative, and some of the things that we're thinking about that can be additional revenue streams. We need to let San Diego's corporate community know why we do what we do. We're not just having fun putting on a football game. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a lot of fun putting on a football game. It's a lot of fun bringing in these events. It was a lot of fun being a part of bringing Manchester United here the last 2 summers, bringing the All Blacks and Fiji here this last summer. It is fun work. It's great work. At the same time, it's hard. And where my stress level comes from and where I struggle sleeping at night is thinking long term and how we're going to continue to be able to pay the bills year in and year out, because the revenue streams are limited. I do think we are getting better. I think our way of thinking, accessing revenue opportunities that we never have even tried in the past, is going to serve us well. But I will say, raising money is a challenging endeavor for us.
So we're going to ask, I've got one more question before we get into the question and answer portion of this. But, one of the, as huge partners of National University, Sports San Diego, obviously one of the things we love most about National University is how much they support the military here locally. And I know for Sports San Diego, and historically for the Holiday Bowl, the military has been an integral part of really the fabric of the game, and now the nonprofit at large. What role does military, certainly as an industry, play within San Diego and sports tourism, but specifically, how are you integrating with the military and what role do they play?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that people don't realize, even San Diegans don't have a clue about this, a lot of them don't, that San Diego has the largest concentration of military service members in the world. The largest concentration of military service members is here in San Diego. And so, I mean, it for us, we need and want to tap into that. And so, as long as I've been working here and as long as the Holiday Bowl's been around, we celebrate the military. we engage them in as many things as possible, and to showcase how proud we are to host the Navy and the Marines and the Coast Guard, and to a lesser extent in terms of numbers, the Army and the Air Force, and the defense industry is really big, and so we love celebrating our military community, and there's even events. We just had the Department of Defense's Warrior Games were here last year out in Coronado at Naval Air Station North Island, which is an awesome event, a tourism driving event in its own right. So we are very fortunate to have the military here in San Diego. They're awesome. And the whole country celebrates them. Oh, we're in their backyard here with so many of them. And that is a really rewarding part of what we do here at Sports San Diego.
So at this point, we're going to open it up. For those of you that haven't yet, please submit your questions in the question and answer portion of the dialogue box there, just not to be confused with the chat box. I know we've got two places there. Mark, we've had a few come in, so I'm going to rapid fire some as they come in. First off, our friend Nicole asks, if you're working towards sustainability, do you partner with SDSU and specifically the School of Hotel and Tourism Management Recreation and Tourism Management for internship opportunities for students?
The quick answer to that is yes, we do. We actually have had several interns from that program. They've been involved in doing surveying for us as well, separately than the internship programs. We've spoken to their classes several times through the years. Man, I bet I've probably spoken there 20 times over the last 30 plus years. So yes, we are engaged with that program, and it's a great one.
And Parker asked me, you made a transition earlier this year for the Holiday Bowl, the venue change. You went from Petco Park to Snapdragon. Kind of speak into the process of what went into that and what you're excited about here now with the new venue.
Yeah, so I will say first and foremost, a Go Padres note. When our stadium, Qualcomm Stadium, SDCCU Stadium at the time, was raised, we needed a place to play. Excuse me. And the Padres were there for us. And so we worked very closely with them to making that a great football facility. And I'm going to cough again, so I'm going to mute for a second. Ooh, excuse me. Okay. And so it was a great venue. The fans who came from out of town loved it down there. Many of our out of town guests who come for the game stay in downtown properties. We have a series of events that are downtown leading up to the bowl game, and the fact that Petco Park is right downtown, it was awesome. Great venue. I mean, and it's going to be rocking tonight. Going back to Snapdragon Stadium, or going to Snapdragon Stadium, is really going home for us. I will tell you the primary reason for the move is that Snapdragon Stadium is a football stadium. Petco Park is not. It can accommodate football, and it did really well for the 2 years that we played there. But the Snapdragon Stadium is a football stadium, and if you can imagine, we're bringing in sod downtown at Petco Park, and there are expenses there that we don't have to absorb at Snapdragon. And if Snapdragon Stadium wasn't a great venue, we wouldn't have even considered it, regardless of the cost. But since Snapdragon Stadium, and for those of you who have been to it, it's awesome. There's not a bad seat in the venue. It's very open. We're going to be able to activate in ways that we have never in our 45 years have ever been able to activate. And so we've heard it from our ticket holders that they're very excited about the move. And we're excited as an organization to be putting it on back in our old home in Mission Valley.
So what future events are you hoping to secure? I'm sure there's NDAs and things you can and cannot talk about, but Parker asked about Champions League matches. What's kind of the scope of what you dream and what you're hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I mentioned a lot of them, that we want to capitalize on. We have had some success here, and this is really specific. I won't even say it's specific to Snapdragon Stadium because it's beyond that. So with soccer, we've had success with soccer, having the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup was just here, the Leagues Cup was here. And then we attracted Manchester United here twice, these last two summers. And Snapdragon Stadium sets up as a great soccer venue. We see it with San Diego Wave, San Diego FC being here starting next year. It is a great soccer venue, but it's not just that venue that makes San Diego attractive for clubs like Manchester United and Real Betis from another European team. We had a Bundesliga team here in Dortmund last summer. Manchester United, they're one of the biggest professional sports franchises in the world. And they trained up at UC San Diego on campus there. And their manager said that is the best facility in the United States for training. And so that's something that UC San Diego should be really proud of. It's something that I'm proud of as an alum. But we also have other great places for training also here in San Diego. So we are going to be working on more international matches. Of course, we'd love to get some English Premier League teams, more English Premier League teams. We're actually having dialogue about that kind of thing right now. We want to get more active in the promoter space. So for us taking on the risk of those matches, but also hopefully yielding some reward for us as well. And it's not just soccer though either. We're working on, we want to get more success in the lacrosse space. We want to get like with the World Lacrosse Sixes or things like that. And in rugby, rugby, it was magical. That All Blacks and Fiji match that was here in July, that was one of the most special events I've ever been to. And rugby has such a loyal following. So we would like to secure more international rugby matches as well. And we're going to be working hard at that. We're already engaged in that. Lacrosse is another sport that is quickly growing. And a lot of the sports that are going to be in LA 2028, we want to capitalize on those, whether it's like squash, for example. We've had meetings about squash and sports that I've never played and know very little about. But they have wonderful followings and can be impactful for our region.
So that's a good segue here. Friend of the program, Chris Coddington asks, how does Sports San Diego make money by helping to bring an event to San Diego? So whether it's an example like the All Blacks, and there's probably a little bit more business to that as, there's what we're trying to stand as a benefit for the city, but how is Sports San Diego stand to make money from any of these events?
And how Chris Coddington was allowed to ask a question in this forum. Just kidding, Chris. So it's a really good question because a lot of times we don't realize any revenues for it. It's just something that we work. Our purpose, our charge is to bring events to San Diego. Now, there are times, and we provide a lot of services for free, be it hotel sourcing or venue sourcing, helping to secure additional funding for those organizations. We do that just because that's what we do as a sports commission. There are times though, and I'll say the All Blacks matches, the Manchester United matches, we do get contracted to help with certain things, be it with pageantry, volunteer sourcing, many other things, but we will enter into contracts every once in a while with events that are here just because we're boots on the ground. We have a local knowledge. I would put our group up against any, in terms of an expertise in producing events and having a wealth of experience, be it positive or negative, on what works in San Diego. So we do receive some funding that way from events that come into town. But I will say very little, though. It's a fraction of what our overall budget is.
So a couple of questions that have come in that the first one was, how can someone get involved with Sports San Diego?
That's a great question. That's my favorite one. If you go to our website at sportssandiego.org, there is an opportunity there where you can sign up, and then someone on our staff will reach out to you immediately and get you lined up so you can get in the know for participating in certain events that come up, and maybe even more engaged than that too. So please, if you want to join us, please do. It's a fun place to go.
And then for people involved in the organizing side of sports, how does someone go about sending an RFP for a future sporting event? So how are we going about that right now?
So in terms of, is the question about if we want or somebody wants to bring their event here?
The question was, how does someone go about sending an RFP for a future sporting event? So I think probably both sides of it, ideally.
Yeah. So one way, when an organization, like I will tell you a perfect example of a bid that we won was the World Athletics Road Running Championships, which is the world championships for the mile, 5K, and half marathon. And it's the world's best runners, but also any recreational runner can participate as well. Really amazing event. But that event, World Athletics sent out an RFP to communities all around the world. And it was a thick one, very thick RFP. And so we seek them out oftentimes, so if we're looking to bring an event, we will find them on websites, or we go to conventions throughout the year, 4 or 5 conventions throughout the year, where we learn about RFP processes and things like that. For events, we don't necessarily send out RFPs because we're more on the other side of the coin. And so we're trying to get those events here, get those national governing bodies here or what have you. So either we receive them because people want to come to San Diego and they ask if we will. That happens quite often. Or on the other side, we will seek them out. We got to be aggressive with it. If you just kind of rest on it, you're not going to realize much success.
So another friend of the program here, Richard Kilwine's got a question about sports that are culturally significant to San Diego. So think skateboarding, surfing. How did those type of sports figure into the growth of Sports San Diego and sports tourism specifically?
So we do actually have, and hi, Richard. We do actually have a lot of those events here. BMX is pretty big. We did secure the World Surf League's Junior World Championships here, up to Cardiff, or not at Cardiff, up at just north of Grandview. Anyway, and so we do try to capitalize on that. We're going to be able to do so even more now with the Olympics coming, and some of the sports, like surfing, for example, which is a part of the Olympics. Very important. Those are lifestyle events, lifestyle sports that, some cases were born here in Southern California. So we like to capitalize on those. A lot of those events are becoming bigger and bigger, evidenced by the fact that they made it into the Olympic Games, and the advent of X Games and things like that. So, Richard, to be sure, we want more of those sports here in San Diego, no doubt about it.
And then I caught a note also in the chat from Bonnie of really looking at some of the things we do to dress up San Diego to host a sporting event. So, what types of needs does each organizer have as it relates to hospitality or fitness accommodations or food services, or is it just about the facilities, the local culture? Like what is it about San Diego and all the amenities that you need to present?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I can answer it in many, many different ways, but I will say, so for the Holiday Bowl, for example, we bring all these people to town. To me, and I'm sure many of you have traveled to a sporting event before, and as I have many times. And the events that I enjoy the most are the ones where the community really buys into those events. And I will tell you an event that I like, probably the most fun event that I've gone to, just because the community gets so into it, is the Indianapolis 500 in Indianapolis. that whole community is behind that event. You get off the airplane, there's race cars in the airport and checkered flags everywhere. You drive through the communities, during the day, it's black and white checkered flags all over the place. If you go through neighborhoods, and I know this because my wife is from Indianapolis, and all the neighborhoods are decked out like it's Christmas, but it's for car racing, and it just makes it a lot more fun. And so it's a challenge. We try to do that when people come into town for any of these events. We want them to realize that they're here and that San Diego welcomes them. And there's so many ways you can do that, whether it's through restaurant programs or ticket programs where participants get discounts to things, whether it's decorated, the community is decorated. And I frankly, I'll tell you, I think we can do better here in San Diego with that. Comic-Con, I think, is probably the best at it. There's a lot of money that goes behind it. But Comic-Con, there's no doubt when you come into San Diego during Comic-Con that you're here for Comic-Con. I would love for that to be replicated more. I know it not to that degree, but I think it's important for the big events that are making a big impact here in the community that they are celebrated and more welcoming to people coming into town.
So, and thank you everyone for your Q&A. We may not be able to get to everybody's questions, and I know we want to be sensitive to time, most importantly for those of you making your way to Petco Park to cheer on.
We got first pitch coming up here,
So. Mark, want to leave it with a question as it relates to, again, Sports San Diego being a new brand, and you having this opportunity today to speak to a lot of enthusiasts of around the country and certainly San Diegans here locally. What's one parting thought? What's something you want people to take away from today as it relates to the impact Sports San Diego is having, and certainly any ways that they can get involved or certainly want to support this organization?
Yeah, and I know there's people from all around the country watching this. For San Diegans, it's just really important that that our organization, Sports San Diego, that people understand not only what we do but why we do. Most people, I'm sure even today, if you think of our most popular brand, it is the Holiday Bowl. It's been around forever. There's a really great history here in San Diego. But the DirecTV Holiday Bowl is going to continue to be a significant impact player for the community. But what it is important for us that the community understands what we do. We now are not only the Holiday Bowl, we also are the Rady Children's Invitational Basketball Tournament. We are the California State Games. We serve as the Sports Commission to bring all these amazing events. And I got to tell you, I can't thank our team enough. Our staff is incredible, and our volunteers are amazing. And San Diego is really lucky to have that group. And but we need more people to know what we do and why we do it. Because for us to be able to continue to have this crazy success, going from 15 to 25,000 room nights to 100,000 to 130 and on our way to $250,000, we can't do it on our own. We are going to need our corporate support, civic support, and we already do get some of that. There's no question about it. We're so grateful to have it. But for us to be able to continue to do so, we need more support, no doubt about it.
So with that, either Heather or Nancy, I think Mark and I are more than happy to answer any last minute questions either from yourselves, but really, really appreciate the opportunity to share with all of you today. Hopefully you learned a few things, got a glimpse into what's going on, but thank you very much for having us today.
Well, Mark, you've done just a phenomenal job. And because of background noise, because yes, I am on my way to the Padre game, I'm going to have Heather go ahead and close us out. But I do believe that all of our audience has learned so much more about just all the idiosyncrasies of the sports industry, how there's so many twists and turns, and it's a very competitive marketplace. And I know Sports San Diego has really helped make economic impact on San Diego because of sports. But Heather, let's turn it over to you.
Thank you, Nancy. And thank you, Mark and Mark, for both being here tonight. I know I learned a lot, and I could tell from the engagement our attendees were very excited to learn from you as well. So if you had further questions or you'd like to be in touch with Mark for any future events or to get more involved with Sports San Diego, the Sports San Diego website's on the screen, and you're welcome to reach out to Mark Sawyer directly, msawyer@holidaybowl.com. And then we're going to show you a few upcoming events especially for our alumni. Lindsay will advance that quickly. So here's some events we have coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to draw your attention particularly for alumni to the Alumni Association meeting, a fun event, our virtual Halloween party, and then the next NU speaker series featuring one of our alumni, Sean Loescher. So we look forward to seeing you at those events, and thank you all for joining us tonight. Go Padres!
Thank you, everyone.